Why are music programs an important part of education? How can music help students succeed? We'll discuss these questions and more with conductor and composer Anthony Maiello next in the chat room. Welcome to the chat room. I'm Frank O'Gara, your host today. With me today in the studio is Professor Anthony Maiello, Director of Instrumental Studies at George Mason University. Professor Maiello is also the Artistic Director and Conductor of the American Festival Pops Orchestra in Washington, D.C. He makes professional appearances both nationally and abroad, conducting music festivals, adjudicating ensembles, and presenting clinics, lectures, and workshops. He has recently returned from working with DoDEA students and teachers in Europe at the Honors Band and Chorus Festival. Welcome, Maestro.
Thank you, Frank.
It's really good to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
And I want to congratulate you also on your recent honor into the Hall of Fame, the Bands of America Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much.
What did that honor mean to you?
Well, it was a lifetime achievement, actually, a lifetime achievement award. It's taken me 44 years of teaching to even be considered for something like that. So it was quite an affair and a milestone in my life. I've never had anything like that happen to me. And my wife and my two daughters were able to accompany me to Indianapolis and witness the event. So it was really exciting.
What a great moment. What a great moment. And I would say from the reception that you've gotten from our students and our parents and our teachers with your work with us now, not just this past week, but in the past as well, that was an honor that certainly would have been predictable, okay, because you have just won rave reviews from our people.
Well, thank you. I always say it's a two-way street. You know, you have to give in order to receive, but it's so easy to do that with your kids in the band and the choir. They were wonderful, absolutely wonderful kids.
Great, and we'll talk a little bit about them. I want to begin today our discussion, though, talking a little bit about the importance of instruction in the arts and in our schools. How important is it in the public schools for our school system and across America to have a strong focus on the arts and in particular music?
Well, one of the things that I've always believed, even from the very, very beginning as an educator, the arts make us human. We can learn all of the R's and all of those things, and we must, in terms of just being educated individuals. But the arts touch our souls. They touch our humanity. They help us to communicate in a way that no other communication, educational means gives to us. It's creativity, it's human creativity, and that's one of the most important things in terms of just being a human being, you know, touching the inner soul, becoming something greater than oneself, you know, part of an ensemble and expressing oneself. I mean, it's a necessary thing. Unfortunately, there's always the bottom line in the budget, and when people look for places to cut, sometimes they feel that the arts are maybe a frill. In my opinion, the arts are absolutely mandatory. I've seen it time and time again where they've changed students' lives in magical ways. So I'm a strong, strong supporter for all of the arts. I mean, not just music, but theater, dance, any means of expression, human expression, I think is so important.
And I think it gives kids, too, a lifelong pursuit, you know, that is enjoyable for them. You know, if you learn to play an instrument at an early age, or you learn to sing forever, it stays with them forever.
Forever. We had at the concert, one of the evening concerts, there was a German choir that came to entertain the students for an evening event, and someone asked the question, how long have you been in the choir? 25 years, singing in a choir, in a community choir.
Yeah.
And I thought, isn't that
just
wonderful?
Loving it, absolutely dedicated to it.
And they still loved it.
Sure.
They were still singing. You could see the smile on their face, you know, I mean, on their faces. It was wonderful.
Well, it's great. It's great. Now, you mentioned the 3 R's, okay, and is there research out there that shows a connection between the study of music and the achievement of students?
There absolutely is. And on a personal note, I mean, I could quote some of the statistics, but on a more personal note, I'm very fortunate to travel internationally and throughout the United States. I mean, I've conducted from Hawaii to Maine, and it doesn't matter, Texas and Wisconsin, you name it. But the best kids in the schools, the best kids in the schools are always in the band, the orchestra, the choir. Always. Every time, hands down.
What do you think the reason for that is?
Well, the best kids in the schools are always involved. First of all, they're extremely intelligent, okay, and the self-expression, the means of creativity that the arts offers these students is something that they crave, and so they gravitate towards music, towards the arts, towards theater. But I look at the schools, and when I have the first rehearsal, and I get to know the students, and I always ask the teachers, now, tell me about the students. And they always say, you know what, these are the best kids in the whole school. And I say, really? And they say, yes. And so, well, how is that? Well, because they're eager to learn. They're excited about learning. They want creative outlets. And the arts offers all of those things.
And they're disciplined, too, I think. We'll talk a little bit about the discipline it takes to study music.
Well, in order to become proficient as a musician, when I was in college, I spent 5 to 6 hours every day in a practice room by myself. So there's a high level of dedication. There's a work ethic. There's a high level of concentration that is necessary to achieve any kind of success in music. So all of these things put together, the dedication level, the intensity in terms of focus, concentration, are necessary. All of these things are necessary. And these students have all of those qualities. So they're able to be successful. And once they experience that musical performance and the high that one gets from it, I tell them you're hooked on it, and I'm hooked on it too. I mean, I call it a musical junkie, in the nicest sense, and I am, and so are they, and they have it forever.
Yeah.
So
it's I'm a former high school principal, and to see students either in the chorus of the band working hard and practicing, but absolutely loving every minute of it, not complaining about it, wanting to do it.
Well, Frank, those students, we started at 8:45 in the morning and rehearsed until 12. Took a break for lunch, back at 1 to 5. Every day.
That's an intensive day.
I can tell you right now, and I work with professionals, and I mean this in the lightest sense. If I worked professionals that hard, there would be a picket line and a strike. I'm only kidding. But
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
Professionals,
yeah, of course.
So those are long hours for
but
anybody.
Our students want to do it.
They're
hungry. They're hungry.
And at the end of the day, they were tired, but they were ready to go.
Absolutely.
It was for me. We talk about a great experience for the students. It was just as great, if not better, for me to be with them and to be experiencing it with them.
Oh, that's great.
So,
now, a lot of our kids have, in our particular system, the two of the major issues that we face are transition. Okay, the number of moves that our kids make in the course of a military career from one school to another, and then also the separations that happen as a result of the conflicts we've been involved in, the war that we've been involved in, the long deployments that many of our kids face, or that their parents face and that families face.
Have to deal with.
How does music help kids from an emotional perspective to deal with those kinds of things?
That's an excellent question. And music is emotion. Anyway, it's human emotion in sound. That's what music is. It's all of our emotions that we experience as human beings put into sound. So for students like those involved in the DODS program, DODIA program, excuse me, yes, it's an instant community. Instant community. They walk in with a clarinet. They walk in with a flute. They are instantly a member of the community and welcomed, immediately. And then once they pick up the instrument, there are no words. It's not necessary to say anything. They start to play, and things come together. And all the barriers go away. Mm-hmm. All the labels go away. all of the inhibitions sort of go away and the music prevails, and because of that, it brings human beings together on a level that is impossible to talk about.
Yeah, the bonds are incredible that are formed, okay?
Unbelievable.
And you mentioned, I think you said it's a language of sorts. Music really is a universal language. Okay?
Absolutely.
What implications does that have for our students who are really living their lives in foreign countries? We have kids in 12 different countries across the world, okay? What implications does it have for how they get along with other cultures and how they bring the best of American culture through music to other places?
Well, American music is always looked upon as the model, so to speak. You know, everybody wants to listen to American music, and they want to hear all of the songs. I mean, they know all of the songs in Japan that we know, and some of them know them even better than we do. But all the American composers and so forth. But one of the things that this does is, for the students especially, and I'm so thrilled that the students in the DoDEA program are basically experiencing music, because the communication level for these students and being in a foreign land gives them the opportunity to connect immediately with other people, adults, students their own age, younger people, in a way that language barriers sort of blockade, if you will. The fact that they can express themselves, the fact, for example, we played a medley. I keep referring back to the concert, but it's hard not to, because it's so fresh.
Absolutely.
It's so fresh in my mind. But we played an Italian medley, one that I thought the students would enjoy. First thing you know, the students in the band are clapping, and the next thing you know, I turn around and the audience is clapping, and I look at the audience, and the smiles on their faces, I mean, I had tears in my tears in my eyes, and it was, so I basically stopped conducting formally and just went like, I had the baton in my hand, and it was like, okay,
Absolutely.
I'm clapping with you, you know, and the smiles on the faces, the smiles on, and I looked at that and I thought, you want to know about magic. This is magic.
And it is magic for our high school principals. You can take your band and you can, or your concert band or your choir, whatever it is that you have, and you can go to either an Italian community or German community or a Japanese community, wherever we happen to be in the world.
Absolutely.
And it just it breaks down the barriers, as you said.
Immediately.
And it provides just a wonderful opportunity for different cultures to mix, for friendships to begin, and it's a powerful tool that our principals and music teachers have used wisely over the years.
I think you're absolutely right. Administrators, astute administrators, will see that, and they will use that so their students can have a wonderful experience, an educational experience that goes far beyond the classroom. And will be with them the rest of their lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, at the beginning, you mentioned, that tough times sometimes have a negative impact on the arts, and we've been blessed as a school system, very well resourced, have made, I think, an incredible commitment to the arts, as you've seen.
I will attest
in
to
your
that.
time with us.
Absolutely.
What do school districts back home today that are facing tough economic times? How do they keep the arts out in front in school programs?
It's not an easy task. Once again, I go to the bottom line in the budget. And some communities have more resources than others. I know that I live in Fairfax County, and it's a wonderful county, very, very supportive of education, and yet the Board of Supervisors, they have to do their job, and they look at the bottom line, and they talk about where they want to cut and where they have to cut, and so we go and I was there a couple months ago speaking to the Board of Supervisors. 3 minutes, everybody gets 3 minutes, and I'm going tomorrow night again, just to tell them how much, first of all, I appreciate their support for our young musicians, and to hopefully continue support, because it's a financial investment.
Absolutely.
I mean, the music lessons are expensive, buying the instrument, buying the music, but it's so important and it's so rewarding for the students. I am convinced that anybody who votes the arts, if out of a budget or votes down the arts or wants to cut back, if they could stand on the podium and look at the eyes of those students, either in front of the choir, the orchestra, the band, I guarantee you it wouldn't even be on the table for discussion.
You'll have to bring our concert tape with you.
I will. I should do that.
Yes,
I should do that. Yeah.
Now, aside from getting kids enrolled in a formal course of music in school, taking courses in chorus or band or whatever it is, are there things that teachers in a variety of different content areas can do to use the arts in the teaching that they do across the content areas?
Oh, I definitely think so. I mean, if it has to do with foreign countries, the music from foreign countries, if it has to do with customs, the dances from foreign countries, all of the, basically we think we're so different. I've come to the conclusion after 44 years of teaching that we are so much alike. I mean, we have basic needs, and when it comes down to it, we want to be loved, and we want to love. I mean, we really want to love one another, and we also want people to love us and be kind to us. And the arts, the music, the theater, those are the things that connect us.
Absolutely.
Especially in an age where communication can be so remote and removed. They talk about distance learning. And that's wonderful today with all of the technology that we have. But still, the arts and connecting. You don't even have to understand the words of somebody singing an opera, but you can certainly feel the emotion.
The emotion. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's what I want to share one thing with you, because I share this with everybody, and every ensemble that I conduct students. I always tell them how important music is. And Beethoven, this is a Beethoven quote. Beethoven, because kids are afraid of playing a wrong note. And Beethoven, these are Beethoven's words. Beethoven said, to play a wrong note is insignificant. To play without passion is inexcusable. Isn't that great?
Wonderful. Absolutely.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody has passion. Don't tell me that there's not one individual that doesn't have passion in their soul.
Absolutely. And music brings it out in people too.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
what about parents? Parents are the first teachers of students. What if you could speak to parents in our school system in general, what would you recommend to them when it comes to the arts and the upbringing of their kids?
I think parents are very supportive. Even parents who don't have a lot of income, if their child has an interest in music, I would say to the parents, please try to foster that. Please try to support that interest. If they don't have the money to buy an instrument, ask around. People have instruments in attics. We have a thing at George Mason University called Instruments in the Attic. And people have donated, I can't tell you the number of instruments. And so we're using them in our programs, and we're using them for students who don't have enough money to buy some instruments, etc., specific instruments. But if they could just be supportive. And practicing, it's very hard because kids want to go outside and play ball. And I remember as a kid, and I went in, and when I was a child, I practiced the accordion, because that's what little Italian kids from New York played, the accordion.
Sure.
And you want to go outside, but when their interest sort of wanes a little, just be patient. If they talk about, well, I don't want to do this, just back off a little bit and just give them a little room, and then bring them forward again, and I call it getting them over the hump. Because learning is a series of hurdles, So if you can just get them over that hurdle very gently, very carefully, once they go, then they'll run again.
And I think that's great advice. Now, a lot of our parents in our military communities have done very well in helping the kids over the hump, and you've had a chance last week to see this. Can we talk about the honors band and chorus?
Absolutely. One of the first things that I expressed to the students in the band, who, by the way, these young men and women, they're not kids, they're young men and women, and they do play with passion. But one of the things that I said to them from the very beginning was, I just want you to be sure that you realize how fortunate you are in having parents who love you, teachers who love you, the opportunity to come together. And before we would start every rehearsal in the morning, I would just take a moment and I'd say, just take 5 seconds and just be thankful that we can get together and do this.
And were they responsive to
Oh,
that?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. They were, and they would look at one another and smile, and then we would start the rehearsal. But I think it's important to always remember how fortunate we are to be able to make music. Some people, some children in some parts of the world don't even have an instrument.
And for our viewers who are watching, the Honors Band and Chorus is one of many activities in music that we host around the world to bring students together. And that I think, is it 150 students altogether that come together for Honors Band and Chorus?
At least.
Yeah.
At least.
It's quite a crowd, okay?
It sure is.
And what has happened in recent years is that we bring some professionals from the United States over to work with kids, and it's been our honor to have you. Tell us about the rehearsals, about the concert. What was it that struck you the most?
Well, before I do, I have to tell you that it was my honor to be there. To be with those young men and women in that band was something that I will, and I've done it once before, but I will remember it for the rest of my life. The rehearsals were long. I tried to take care of them. I always feel it's important, and I tell them that I will take care of you. I will never embarrass you. I will always say please and say thank you, because I think that's the only way we should treat each other as human beings. And you know what? They were absolutely wonderful. And I also offer them the opportunity to come up and say hello if they're comfortable. I don't want them to feel that it's an obligation. But I tell them, on a break, if you want to come up and say hello, I love to say. Every single student in the band, Mr. Maiello, hi, I'm so-and-so. And then that opens the door.
Absolutely.
And I said, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. And, where's your mom? Where's your dad? How long have you been playing the instrument? What are you going to do with your life? And it doesn't matter about music. If you're going in music, wonderful. If you're not, tell me a little bit about yourself, And so the dialogue goes, and for 3 days, it just gets, and by the end of 3 days, it's like family. It's like family.
Yeah.
I mean, students were leaving, and I have to be honest with you, of course, being an Italian, Italians are emotional to begin with, what can I tell you? So at any rate, but I mean, it was an emotional experience for me, and the kids as well, the tears in their eyes, and it was just, it's hard to put into words how wonderful the experience was. You were there 1 year. You sort of have to be there to experience it. And moms and dads come up and say thank you, and can we have a picture with you? And
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
I mean, I can't. It's hard to find words to just tell you exactly the intensity and the emotional impact it had, not only on them but on me.
Well, I think the feedback has been incredible, and the feedback from students who were there, they absolutely love you, and they love their time with you. So
two-way street.
Yeah,
two-way street.
Well, it was really great.
Thanks.
Okay, I heard too when you were there that you did some career counseling. With the seniors.
We did. We worked very, very hard for 3 days, and then at the end of the third day, they were pretty tired. I mean, because we just went right up.
It's grueling.
We had to put a concert on the very next day, on that fourth day. So we took about 15 to 20 minutes in the end of the last rehearsal, about 20 minutes to 5, and I asked some of the students if they had any questions about not only music, but about maybe going to school, questions that they wanted to ask me. And so we had an open dialogue, and it was wonderful. And the hands went up, and tell me about this. And if I go to school and I want to play my clarinet, but I don't necessarily want to be a musician as my vocation, can I get into a band or an orchestra? And I said, absolutely. And I told them how to do this. And I said, some of the instruments, oboes, for example. Oboes are not as plentiful as flutes. Mm-hmm. So if you play the oboe, go down to the music department when you get into your college and tell them you play the oboe, and then ask for some money, because there may be some money. Oboes are hard to come by.
All the secrets.
Oh, I did.
And I think they appreciate it, because when it comes from a person with your stature and the experiences that you have, for our kids to get to talk to somebody about that is very powerful.
Well,
so thanks for taking the time
my
to do
pleasure.
that.
My pleasure.
What were some of the pieces that you did with them?
We opened with a thing called Ein Volkfest, and it was written by Dmitri Shostakovich, and it's a folk festival. And we played that, and it was an up-tempo piece, very bright, sparkly tempo, and featured the woodwinds, and so the fingers were flying up and down, and it was very animated, and that was a good opener. And then we did a lovely thing called Hymn Song by Philip, on a hymn song of Philip Bliss. It was very slow and very lush and very colorful. Followed by the La Belle Hélène, the overture, Offenbach, Jacques Offenbach. And then a piece by Mascagni called Intermezzo Sinfonico, and followed by the Viva Italia with all of the Italian songs. That's where everybody started clapping,
Absolutely.
and we had a ball. And
these were not easy pieces either.
No. The Offenbach is a very challenging piece, especially, and so were the other ones. And let me see. Oh, and then finally we ended with a march. I feel it's important for bands to play marches. I feel that it's part of our heritage, and that's where the military comes in. And I also feel that it's important. And I should have done it today, but on if you saw my tails and my tux, there's always an American flag.
Yes, I noted that. I watched the concert and I noted that.
Well,
that's great.
Because I'm a patriot from the word go, and what I do is I always dedicate the march to our men and women in uniform, because I feel personally it's the supreme sacrifice that any human being makes, and I never take that lightly. So I always dedicate the march to our men and women in the armed forces.
And I'm sure that was much appreciated.
It was. They came up afterwards and expressed their thanks, and the parents and even the students in the band came up and said, "Thank you for doing that" at the end. And I just, there's no need to thank me. I want to do that. So it was, Frank. It was just. I wish that everybody who's watching this could be there, because they would see it's a life-changing event. It changes lives. It'll change the lives of these students forever.
Well, and thank you also for raising the expectations, because I remember during your first visit, I think that was about 5 or 6 years ago, when you, and it was the first time that we had brought 2 seasoned professionals from the United States to work with our kids, and the music that you guys had selected at the time, a lot of our music teachers were a bit skeptical about it. Maybe it's too difficult. Maybe we won't be able to pull this off. But you stuck to it, and kids will rise to the expectation.
Absolutely, I'm a firm. They will go as far as you expect them to go, farther than they expect to go. And that's one of the joys of teaching that I just absolutely love, because you never know how far these kids can go. There is no limit. And that's the wonderful thing, and I try to keep that as open as possible, and I think music does that.
Absolutely.
Because I've been teaching for 44 years. I'm still a music student. I'm still a student.
A lifelong learner.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
Well, thank you, Professor, for taking the time to be with us, first of all, in the chat room today, and the time that you've given and the advice and the talent that you've shared with our kids in Europe is much appreciated. So thank you so much.
It is my pleasure. My pleasure. I've had a wonderful time. Thank you for inviting me.
Our pleasure. To find more about music in Dodia schools, take a look at our website at the URL shown on the screen. I'm Frank O'Gara. Thank you for joining us in this edition of The Chat Room.